What's the story, Internet? This is Heritage, and this is my Shazam review. Just to give you a heads up, I went with the brother on Saturday, about 1:30. Screen was jammed, loads of people there, so there's a lot of people dying to see this film. To let you know, it's first part of this. There's going to be spoilers, but right now I'll just give you a general overview, so if you don't want to be spoiled, just listen to the first bit. I'll let you know when we're going to spoil later on. But just in terms of film, I give it a solid 8.5 out of 10. I'm definitely going to go see it again. I really enjoyed it. I'm a little bit confused, but I've been hearing online from other reviews about this, because people are saying like it's a kids movie. I don't think it's a kids movie. It's kids in it, you know, like, and my main focal point is around children, like teenagers and the like. But it's not a kids movie. There's some really dark themes in this, and it goes in some very, you know, violent imagery at times. It kind of reminds me of, if you think of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Everybody thinks that is like a rollicking action film and all that, and they tend to forget at the end that you got an awful lot of Nazis with their faces being melted off. So Shazam's a bit like that. It's fun, it's exciting, it's great crack, but there are moments in it where you go, Jesus, that's a bit harsh. And that does make you think maybe if you've got sensitive kids, maybe 8-year-olds or younger, it mightn't be for them. But generally, most kids do like to be scared by the bad guys, and it is the bad guy doing this sort of stuff. So it builds him up as a villain. So most 10 to upwards, they'll get a great laugh out of it. They'll love it. I think you'll actually enjoy the film more if you haven't seen the trailers, because there's a lot of stuff in the trailers that when you see it in the actual film, it's still hilarious, it's still funny, but I think it loses its impact because you've seen it. You know, like, so if you've coming in fresh, you're just gonna fall about laughing at it, particularly the montage where he's learning his powers, which is, you know, by the end of, you know, halfway through the film and all, when he finally meets, you know, his villain, Dr. Sylvanus, he still doesn't know the full capabilities that he has. So it's very interesting that, like, you have that training montage and it doesn't culminate in him knowing everything. And I thought that was actually very clever, because there's always comparisons to Captain Marvel here, because Shazam was the original Captain Marvel, and totally, they're totally different films. You know, like, there's an actual character arc in this, you know, as opposed to Captain Marvel. But what Shazam really hammered home to me was that at no stage during Captain Marvel did I ever feel like Carol Danvers was in danger. That, you know, it was a buddy cop film really with Samuel L. Jackson. You know, there was action, there was comedy beats and all that, but you didn't really get the sense that there was any real stakes involved. In this film, Captain Marvel, Shazam, doesn't know the full extent of his powers, and when he's going up against Dr. Sylvanus, he kicks his ass, you know, like, and he kicks his ass a lot. And Billy is scared. Billy, you know, even though he's Shazam and he's in a muscular adult body, he's still a 15-year-old kid. And your average kid has not been, you know, got the shit kicked out of him as often as this, or faced anyone as terrifying as this. And Mark Strong does a fantastic job in this film as the villain, you know, because that's the actual thing I was a little bit worried about. He's not really a grade A villain. He's not one of those characters where you think, you know, oh yeah, the rogues gallery of all DC villains, I want to see this guy. You know, like, so it really comes down to his performance and selling him as a threat. And he really does very well. And to be honest as well, we all know that the main villain for Shazam is Black Adam. Black Adam's not in it. He's hinted at it as a bit in it. And it is kind of plays a role in the sense that the wizard ends up choosing Billy, you know, like, or putting off choosing a new champion until he has no choice when it comes to Billy, because of how he failed with Black Adam all those years ago. So we know at some stage in the future he's going to face him. But as a villain, he does a great job. He's scary. He has some really horrific moments, you know, like, but I won't get into that till I get to the spoiler section. But as I said, right now, it's a great film. It's fun. And that's the one thing I really have to hammer home here. I love the Marvel films. I loved, you know, I liked a lot of the DC films. But Aquaman I loved, and Wonder Woman I loved. And I think since then, they've really got into their own stride. But it never really realised just how few comic book character films enjoy being a superhero. And, you know, Zach Levi in this does a fantastic job of just being gleeful. Just when he realises that he can leap tall buildings in a single bout, that he can fly, that he can throw lightning bolts, all this sort of stuff. It's just like all his Christmases have come at once, you know, like, and that really does lend the tone to the film that, you know, it makes it so enjoyable. And like I said, it flies by. 2 hours, 12 minutes, I think it is, something like that. Before you know it, you're out of that cinema, you know, like, and that's something I haven't seen for a good while, and it's always a good sign for whether a film is entertaining or not. So that's my non-spoiler review here. Shazam, Definitely worth seeing. It meets the hype. It's darker in areas than a lot. Like some people have been hinting at this already on the online reviews. There are things that may disturb very young children, but generally speaking, it's for teenage from say 10 upwards. I think you're going to have a blast. And I mean, definitely, I'm going back again when it comes out on DVD. I'm getting this one because it is actually now, I can't believe I'm saying this, is Shazam, my favourite DCEU film. You know, like up to now, it was Aquaman. I thought Aquaman was fantastic. Somebody described it best online that Aquaman was actually Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon underwater. And that really does nail the fun that film has. So Shazam, some people have been saying it's kind of like a teenage Deadpool type film. I wouldn't go that far. But it's definitely, it's got the feel of an 80s film. It's got the feel of like Gremlins or something like that. And that's more tonally what's like. So definitely, if you're thinking about going to this film or not, give it a shot. I think you're going to enjoy it. Like I said, I'm not a professional reviewer. I'm just a punter. Put down my money to go see it. I want to enjoy a film, and I got my money's worth out with this one. Definitely going to go see it again. So that's the spoiler-free review bit. The next bit I'm going to go to now is all spoiler. So I'll let you know it's spoilers from now on. If you don't want to hear any more, just stop and go see the film. So take care there. Right, from now on, it's spoilers. Okay, what's really shocking about Shazam in places is some of the places it goes to. It does things that I really didn't expect it to do, particularly in this day and age. For instance, Billy's story arc is that he's trying to find his mom. He was as a kid, and there's a whole sequence where she's trying to get him this little teddy bear from shooting darts in a fairground, and he doesn't get it, but he gets this little I think it's a compass, like a little ball compass thing, and he drops that and he goes trying to find it. Between finding the compass and looking around again, he's lost track of his mother, and he ends up being collected by the cops and put into foster care. And he spends the next several years, and you don't see that bit, but he does spend several years bouncing from foster home to foster home. But he's taking every opportunity that he can to try and track down his mother, because he feels guilty from getting lost, basically. Even though at times they do kind of lend hints that the people in the adoptive agencies are saying, well, she's never came looking for you. Now, I'll be honest, at that stage I was just thinking, well, maybe that means she's dead, or maybe something really horrible's happened to her, but he never gives up faith. He just keeps trying to find her. So that's why he keeps abandoning every foster home he goes into. And I mean, when we see him now, he gets taken in by the latest foster family. And it is a bit of a checkboard of ethnicities. You got Asian kids, you got black kids, you got, Hispanic kids. And that does look a little bit SJW. But I mean, that's because this film is mainly based on, I believe it's the new 52 series of Shazam. I checked it out at a library, and it does hit a lot of the beats, like the bit in the subway where he ends up meeting the wizard. As I said, meeting this family, the type of characters that he interacts with, the bullies and all this sort of stuff. To a degree, they do kind of truncate that. But that's the main version of Shazam that they're doing here. But thankfully, they stay away from all that sort of stuff, and it's really just a foster family of two adults who were foster kids themselves, and when they got married decided that they'd basically pay it forward and try and look after kids who just need a decent start in life. And Billy kind of pushes them away, and because he still wants to find his own mother. And what I found was really shocking, and like I said, this is a spoiler, he eventually tracks her down, and she abandoned him. She didn't want him at all. That's basically what it was. But he has this image in his head, like I said, where you see that sequence where she's winning him the little compass. They redo that at this stage in the film, and it's done from her point of view, where she's completely frustrated. She's basically telling him to shut up. She can't handle him, and she tries to get him the tiger, but ends up getting him the little compass thing, which he's hung on to all this time, by the way. And she basically is walking away with him through the crowd. She loses touch with him. She does freak out, let's be honest with you. She's not complete heartless bitch, but when she does see him with the cops later on, she just leaves him, and she decides to live her own life and never get back in contact with him. And this breaks his heart. I mean, this like he's standing there in front of her thinking that it was his fault all along, that she didn't feel this way, but she does. And it's just, Blank said something like she started a new life, she's got a new boyfriend or husband, we don't know because we don't see much more than that. But she basically says that he was better off without her, because she was a teenager at the time and she couldn't handle it. And I think the boyfriend, his dad or something, was in jail or something like that as well. But it's just, it's a real stab in his heart, that moment. And I can't believe they did it because, let's be brutally honest. These days, women are deified. I don't like pushing the whole SJW thing, the whole whammon thing. But the reason why Captain Marvel wasn't that good of a film is that she wasn't allowed to have flaws. She wasn't allowed to have a character arc. It's very, very rare for a woman to be portrayed as a deadbeat mother. And that's basically what she is. She just pawned him off and never gave him a second thought. And even when, the little bit where Billy goes to give her the compass at the end, she goes, "What's this?" This thing he's been treasuring all his life as a memory of her. She doesn't even recall it. So this is the stage where Billy realises where I belong now is with the foster family that do want me. And he basically then goes on from that. But I just couldn't get over that. I was actually astonished that they did something that ballsy and that real in a film, which up to this has been very, very, joyful and very, very kind of cheeky and fun. And it does this a lot. I mean, there's a little speech as well where Freddie, for instance, the linchpin of this film is Freddie and Billy bouncing off each other. And Freddie is basically his mentor, trying to teach him everything he knows about superheroing and the like, and admonishing him when he acts recklessly. Because, like you've seen in that trailer, if you did see it, where he hits the bus, he put those people in danger. So yes, it's great that he saved them and everybody, thinks he's a hero and all that now. But Freddie says, "You did this. This is your fault. So you have to kind of man up, for want of a better term." And there's an argument there between them because Billy then starts realising, well, why should I go back to being a kid when I can stay as Shazam, make some money on the side and live the life of an adult, and he's a bit feckless about it, whereas Freddie trying to get him to be, more responsible, and there is a great argument where Billy just lays into him and he says, "You're just jealous." And Freddie says, well, words to the extent, "Fucking right, look at me, I'm a cripple. People look at me and they don't even want to see me because all I do is remind them of what can happen to you in life." And I mean, that was another stab to the heart. I was like, I did not expect him to say that at all. And I mean, it's just, the script in this, it's absolutely brilliant. I have to be honest with you now. Not perfect, but I mean, they really do take it in places I wasn't expecting. And it overall develops a character arc for Billy from basically feckless kid who'd been granted all these power to finding his place in the world in terms of his family, being responsible as Captain Marvel, Shazam, and doing the right thing. And I mean, it's just great to see a character arc like this. That it kind of reminds me of Spider-Man. In the same way that Peter started off trying to earn a bit of money being a wrestler before he lost Uncle Ben and had to grow up real quick. Billy never has anything that traumatic, but he does have that same arc. And there's allusions in this of Spider-Man and the like. I mean, there's specific little things that the directors do where, for instance, Shazam flies by a particular place. I think it was in the fun fair. And this girl her head just whips around where she's looking at him with this awestruck look on her face. And it really reminded me of that scene in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man where Spidey swings down through the street and the two girls at the same time look at him. And it analogous as well to Donner's Superman, where you just have ordinary people just say, "Wow, this is amazing." And this is another thing that Shazam does really well. There's a clip in the trailers that you've seen of a little kid playing with a Superman and a Batman doll, and they're kind of bashing into each other. And in the trailer, he's humming the Superman theme song. In the film, he's not. He's just bashing with them. But it plays out exactly the same. He's just, as he puts the two of them together, Shazam flies into Savannah and plows him into the ground with a punch. And it's just, that moment, it's very strange to put it, but it's just this little kid looking out his apartment window, seeing a god basically get involved in a fight and plow another one. He just has this awestruck, gleeful look in his face, and I just kept thinking, yeah, that's what it'd be like to grow up in the DC universe and see these battles happening in your real world. And they really managed to grasp the heart of that and the fun and the joy of it. And it really is great to see this. Now, there are flaws, unfortunately, but they're very minimal. I mean, for me, I think the effects aren't the best. Like, the particularly flight scenes with Mark Strong's Dr. Sylvana. There's bits where it just looks really kind of floaty head. Like, it's uncanny valley. Like, it's not blended in well to the background. But I put that down to the price tag. This is a $90 million film. I'm absolutely amazed they managed to produce the effects they have for this, particularly with the number of characters. Towards the end, there's 7 or 8 super people running around the place. There's 6 or 7 villains, you know, that are basically the 7 deadly sins. And it's incredible that they actually managed to pull off what they did. So, I mean, I can't fault them too much for the odd ropey effect. You know, hopefully they'll get more money next time around and it'll polish it off better. So I can forgive it for that, you know, like, but it shows all in all, it's a really good film. And like I said, there's bits in it now that are really kind of, it should be jarring, but it's not. They do it so well. I mean, Dr. Svanov, for instance, when he goes to visit his father and his elder brother in the boardroom of their company, and, well, spoiler, kills them. You know, that whole scene is shot straight out of a horror film. It basically, the piece I'm talking about here is he unleashes the 7 deadly sins. You know, like, they attack all the board members. But from the outside, there's a security guard looking in when he's hearing all these noise through the pane of glass that's frosted. And there's a scene where all the board members just run up and they're banging on it and screaming and dragged off to their deaths. That's just absolutely astounding, going, whoa. So stuff like that might be a little bit, like I said, scary for the really young kids. But I can't see a 12-year-old thinking this is cool. You know, like, so I have to give them credit for really stretching this film, because it could have been goofy as hell. It could have been cheesy. Instead, it actually really works as the most fun film I've seen in a long time. Like I said, a throwback to kind of the 80s, kind of Goonies type stuff. Although not as goofy as that, but it has the charm of like the Gremlins films and all that, with the grotesqueries thrown in. And I can't advise it enough. It definitely, if you're hemming and hawing about it and thinking, oh, I don't know, it looks like a kid's movie, it's not. Trust me, there's enough in there for the adults to really get their teeth into. And as I said, if I was a kid and I was seeing that's like 12 years old, I'd probably absolutely adore it. It deserves that. I think it's getting an A rating so far. So all I can say is it's a fantastic film. If you got the chance, give it a shot. I really hope it does well, because it deserves to. I'm looking forward to the sequel, because that after mid-screen credit with Mr. Mind. I mean, how they're going to make basically a giant caterpillar, and it's not even that big. It's like maybe the size of your arm. You know, like a main villain, even though it's got this little, you know, translator box on its chest when it's talking. That's going to be insane, to be honest with you, if they could pull that off. You know, like, but yeah, definitely good shot. And I mean, it has one of the best endings before the credits as well. I mean, it really, it probably there with, if you think of it, very apes Spider-Man Homecoming, where Aunt May walks in as he has the suits on. In this one, it's Freddy sitting in the cafeteria. Shazam comes in to have a chat with him, because that's what he said he'd do, and he didn't do it in the film, and he got mocked by all the other things. So it's kind of like Billy making up for him. But at the last minute, he says, I bought a friend here, and in comes Henry Cavill's Superman. Now, you don't see the face, you just see the body. I believe it's his stunt double from the Superman films, Man of Steel films. But he comes in, they played the music, and when Freddy just turned around and she goes, oh, like, it just laugh out loud funny. So that's my review of Shazam there. Definitely go see it. It's well worth it. Fair play to DC. I mean, like, they're kicked it up a notch big time. They're 3 for 3 now for really good films. I think they're going to give Marvel a run for their money now, because Marvel have gotten a little stale, I think, and, you know, they could do with a good bit of competition to come after them. So that's my review there. If you like this video, subscribe and like, and thanks for listening. Bye bye.